And we're back.
Welcome back to Beyond the Science podcast.
I'm your co-host, 𝐅𝐻𝐋𝐋𝐖.
And I'm your fellow co-host, 𝐅𝐎𝐋𝐋𝐿𝐼. Today, we have a special guest, our really good friend, Rosie. Welcome, Rosie.
Hello.
And we're super excited to have her on. She's been a really good friend of ours for a couple years now. So, Omar, you want to get us started on today's episode?
Yeah, so right now we're going to be talking about Rose's story, how she got into industry, and how where her future is going. So, Rosie.
What led you to first become a creative?
Just in general?
Mm-hmm.
Well, growing up, I was always like into music, into art. Like I was the art kid. I was not the athletic kid starting off. So like in high school, I was into music, singing, I did art, and then once college started, I kind of lost that interest for a while, like the creative interest. And then I met some friends who were into photography. And as a kid, I always loved watching America's Next Top Model. Mm-hmm. I love Tyra Banks. Mm-hmm. And yes, fierce. But yes, where was I?
So you met a group of photographers and creatives.
So, and they kind of inspired me or kind of boosted my confidence to at least give it a shot, because I was always self-conscious of how I looked. Like I never saw myself being a model, even though I loved watching the show and I loved taking like pictures.
So when was that approximately when you met that group?
2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
after like going through a lot of issues in 2019, I went through a lot of loss. That's when I started getting the hobby of modeling, doing photo shoots, but it was more with friends. It was never serious. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started the amateur modeling page, Turkish Delight. And then from there, I started meeting more friends, more photographers. And then I was like interested in actually like taking it to the next level. And then I like lost interest when COVID hit. And then I would say this year is when I actually took it seriously, started applying to agencies. Obviously, I have no experience. A lot of them declined me. Mm-hmm. Wilhelmina considered me, but they said they wanted me to do more professional portfolio shoots. Mm-hmm. And from then on, I decided to go with a management group. I had to invest in myself, which was a lot. I won't lie, but like they provided classes, they provided how to do a model resume, which is also important because I feel like half the girls that try to apply to these agencies, they don't even have a resume for modeling. Mm-hmm. And I just recently did a portfolio shoot with this management company. So I'm just waiting to hear back from them to see what the next steps are. Hopefully the goal is to start getting actual gigs and apply to an agency and then go from there, basically.
You know, it's crazy because I feel like, so first of all, I feel like that segues into how we all met. But before I talk about that, like when we first did meet, like it is so crazy to see your evolution from when we first met. Because I remember when we first met, like you obviously weren't seriously modeling. Like you said, it was more just with friends. Yeah. And, you know, our photo group, our group of friends everybody was, you know, a photographer or a model or a videographer. One of the three. And from then to now like this year for you to be like, okay, like, you know, I took your digitals. Yeah. And we really started that, you know, that process. You came to me and you're like, okay, like I really want to do this now.
Yeah.
Like,
and he started up the page for me, which we still got to work on.
Yeah, the website.
Yeah.
Yeah. That stuff. Yeah, that's the next step too. And but I feel like that's a perfect segue into how we all met, because all of us have we've all known each other for multiple years now.
Yeah,
and
feels longer to be honest,
so
but I think it's only been 3 years for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only known Omar maybe a year more than I'd known you.
Yeah,
maybe not even a year.
It's crazy. Like this is where like it really puts into perspective, like when you actually put yourself out there, like who are the people that you end up meeting and like the opportunities you get. So like when, like for example, like I remember like when I first met Rose, it was I saw her on one of our friends' page, and I was like, oh, is this like an actual model? Like I can use her for some of the gigs I get, right? So when I reached out, they're like, oh no, she's a hobbyist model. I'm like, oh, okay, then I can't use her for most of the shoots. But like that's when we ended up having like the meetups and you came through to them, that's when like I really saw that like you wanted to push through with it, but you didn't see the potential in it. So it was like more or less like you don't know until you speak to the people that you actually meet and realize if you want to continue through it or not. But I'm actually interested to know like and I know we spoke about this before, but I'd like to like hear again about it, is what kept you motivated? Because there was that certain time of like COVID that hit you and told you like
yes, and I think that hit a lot of people like that creatively.
Right. So like what was your like that struggle, and then how'd you like get out of that rut?
I guess for me, going into COVID, not seeing you guys, not doing photo shoots for a while, that kind of made me lose interest. On top of that, you know, I struggle with depression, and that definitely impacts doing things you love to do or like to do. It makes you lose interest in things. So that was also a battle as well. And then I got into a relationship. So my time was always like with the person that I love. So I wasn't really thinking about modeling at the time. But once I started seeing you, once I started seeing Kira again, seeing the others, that's when I was like, oh, I want to start doing shooting again. And then I slowly started to weasel my way back, but it was more of a hobby. I never took it seriously. I don't know what triggered me. It was in March. That's when I like woke up one day and I was like, I want to fucking do this.
That's when you reached out to me.
Yes, I reached out to you for advice. I reached out to you and I was like, let's go for it. But I think it's because at the time I didn't think I had the looks. I was very self-conscious, had really low self-esteem. I was struggling with acne, had a broken nose. I think once I took care of that, that's when I was like, oh, I look good now. I feel confident in myself. Let's give it a go. And then after getting support from you guys, I mean, you guys believed in me. The people in my life who loved me, they supported me too. So no one held me back from it. So the fact that I got a little push from everyone also helped. And then I just went for it and I just kept going. I was like, okay, this agency's saying no one's responding. All right, so what do I do now? And then I came across FMT, famous management, talent management. And then they told me about the classes they provided. Like they did one class for runway, one class for doing commercials, one class
that's so cool.
About the industry, one class about how to do a modeling resume, another class about photo posing, stuff like that. And then I had the portfolio shoot.
I feel like there isn't enough of that in the industry,
Yeah.
like of such specific like classes like that.
No.
Right. And I'm actually curious, is it like you learn all of it, or you like stick to a class that you really like?
No, I learned all of it. So there was a more advanced one, which was pricier. I went with the basic one. I think they had a class for like the psychological purposes of it, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but I took the basic one, which is the ones that I listed. And there are like scams out there. Like I got scammed, but I was able to get my money back.
I remember that.
I remember that as well.
You're the one who said go for it.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I looked into it,
and then once you looked into it, it was like 11 hours later. Rose, you gotta cancel.
Yeah,
that.
like I was the one who told you like get out of it.
And
like
did.
I told you go for it, as in like I thought you'd done the research behind it, and then like when I looked
To
into
be fair, I think said go for it
Yeah.
because I
But
didn't
then
know.
you
I had
looked
assumed
into
that
it
you
too, and I was like, but you live, you learn.
you live, you learn, and that's the industry. That's the entire industry. Is you fail and you learn from that mistake.
And I'll be honest, like when like I know this is about Rose's story, but like to kind of segue and like not to get people discouraged on like spending money on classes and stuff like that. I think I spent more money on the first year of doing like my actual businesses and like my career by spending so much more money than the average person from like doing like random stuff or even doing the gigs that I've done, because of the fact like I believed in it. So for me, it wasn't a waste of money. I saw it as an investment.
You
even
have to invest in yourself.
Exactly. Like I remember, it's really funny. This might sound random, but I remember, and this still bothers me, but I'm like, you know what? You live and you learn, right? I spent over $5,000 on merchandise for
don't even get me started.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the most money I've ever spent in my life as of right now. So I don't regret it because to me it will pay off, and at least I invest in myself because when it comes to modeling, they told me you have to invest in yourself if you actually want to be considered. And it's kind of like the last podcast you guys were talking about, like hunger and hunger and experience. I have the passion. I'm starting to get the hunger more and more. And on top of that, I am getting the experience.
Right.
So
I'm actually glad that you brought up the last episode.
Yeah. I pay attention.
Absolutely.
And you're getting that, this is the process where you're, like you said, you're gaining that experience little by little. But right now you're also looking for, investments to make in yourself. You're looking for people to take a chance on you and book you for your first gig, your second gig, your third gig when you don't have a lot on your resume yet.
Right.
And once you get past that point, it becomes a little bit less intimidating, but at the same time, if you're still passionate about what you do, you're still just as hungry regardless of how much
like I've
experience.
paid for a few events. It was like $50, $75, not bad. And I met a bunch of photographers. As of right now, I'm not getting paid yet. I haven't been paid for any shoots, any gigs, which is fine to me because I'm getting that experience.
Right.
But the goal is to slowly start to do more studio shoots, doing more professional shoots like that, start getting paid gigs, and then go from there.
Yeah. And you realize the perspective of time, and like you're saying, like you haven't gotten any paid for any gigs, but you have to look at the perspective of when you actually started. So you said that you woke up and said in March that I'm going to do this,
Of
right?
this year, yeah.
But like, if you really look at it, when can you truly say that you actually start getting the work done to do it? Because like a lot of people say, oh, like they see it like, oh, March, and like
I started doing the work like with the classes and everything in May, and then I took a hiatus in the summer, and then I had the portfolio shoot just 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And even before that, we had maybe in April.
Yeah,
or
April
somewhere around
we
there.
had
We did.
the
I shot your
digitals.
digitals,
Yeah.
and that I think was the first step of you being like, okay, I'm going to inquire with someone about this and actually book a time to shoot these photos and make it a priority and make it happen. And that, I feel like that was the first, like after you said like, okay, I'm going to go for it, I feel like that was the first decision that you were like, okay, let me make time out of my week to travel here and shoot here and get these photos done so I can move forward and see what happens next.
Yep.
Absolutely. And it's pretty interesting too, because like going back to timing and everything, is that like when you look at the actual time that it's taken you, yeah, it seems long, but like once you're there, like you're not gonna think about it, oh, like that time was wasted, like the way I see it working out is that like if like someone really wants to push through with it, could get it done within 3 weeks, right? Which is like getting the digitals done, building up a portfolio with different photographers, even like taking photos of yourself, like making sure.
And
like,
that also depends on whether it's something that you're pursuing full time or whether it's something that's more of a side hustle. At the
Right
moment or
now,
else.
it's more of a side thing because
Right.
I do start grad school full time in the
Right.
fall, and that is going to be because at the end of the day, my goal is to become a therapist. That's what I want to do, but I also want to do modeling. I could achieve both. I could do both.
Absolutely can.
But I'm definitely going to keep modeling as more of a part-time as of right now. I mean, that's how I'm doing it right now, just so I could focus on me right now, just because we all have our own little journeys that are happening. So my main focus is myself right
As
now.
it should be.
But I definitely, before school starts, I definitely want to try to do more shoots because I don't know when I'll be able to do more shoots, probably on the weekends because weekdays will be tough. Plus I'm working, like, got to find a balance.
Absolutely. There has to be a balance if you're not, it's not your full-time job, of course. And I think that, like you said, like the investment that you're making in yourself now is going to pay off so much in the long run. And the fact that, like, you know, most people, so basically what you're doing is essentially you're starting your own, you know, business in a sense. Like, you're creating a website, you're marketing yourself, you're pitching yourself, you're applying to this, you're trying to contact these people. And, you know, with any business, the business owner themselves, they don't make money for the first sometimes couple years after they start. They're playing the long game, and I think that that's how every creative should look at it.
Yeah, even for models, like, I know a girl who just started, and she's working full-time and she's doing this, and she said, like, it takes a while for you to start actually making the money. And I've, like, reached out to people, try to get more information about the industry and everything. And it's not an easy industry, because even one of your photography friends who works for Wilhelmina, he even told me, like, that it's very competitive. It's not always a guarantee for you to even get the gigs because of how many girls are in the industry.
It's a very saturated market, which was another topic that we've talked about in the past. Like, it all is in the same exact realm, and it all ties into one another. Like, everything ties into the next, and everything's connected in this industry.
And also the other thing is important too, is that you don't want to, for me, like, I always thought that making quick money was never a reliable way of making money, because, like, if you really look at it, the faster it came, the quickly it goes, right? So the slower it comes in and trickles in, the longer it stays in your account. And that's the way I see it.
The steadier the income is.
Exactly.
Totally.
Like, in the beginning, I was doing it because I, like, really needed the money. But after a while, I was like, I actually really enjoy this. I like this. And it's something, like, that I, like, really genuinely enjoy doing. Like, it it made me more confident doing photo shoots. Obviously, sometimes I get a little in my head, like, I don't know what poses to do. I get a little stuck. But
when we first met, though, like,
I was insecure.
The photos that were, like,
I was so insecure.
Your skills have gotten so much better.
Yeah.
Every single photo is, I mean, it's a world of difference. And I honestly can say that out of everybody I know personally, it's like the biggest difference in the shortest amount of time that I've seen friend of mine make creatively in terms of their evolution as a creative, as an artist. And I think
I feel like she
incredible.
also had, like, the right type of people. I'm not saying I was the right type of people.
No, I had the right type of support.
Yes, you did.
There was not anyone in my life who put me down for
it's
it.
the most important thing.
Because I remember when we shot, I was like, do something. And you're like, what should I do?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what to do.
Okay, first of all, Omar, that's the most, like, terrible advice to give to a new model. Do something.
But you know me, like, I'm not a portrait photographer. I'm not, like, photographer.
No, I know.
Like, so that, like, that's my struggle.
I'd personally be like, move your arm, pose this way, turn to the side. Omar's like, do something.
Yeah, Nike. Just do it.
I cannot.
It's terrible.
I can't.
No,
but
you know what this brings me back to, though? Speaking of, like, this dynamic here, is the fact that going back to another episode that we have had in the past, we met in a group. Like, think about that.
Yes.
We met in a group. So one of our most recent podcasts is, you know, group networking or one-on-one networking, right? Is it better to network in a group of people or in, you know, one-on-one with one person, right? We both, I think, deemed that a group atmosphere is always better.
A group atmosphere, in my perspective, for the protection.
Safety aspect, yes.
And then I believe your perspective was the anxiety.
Yes. So that's another thing that so many different segues in this episode. It's another thing that I really wanted to touch on in this episode because of the fact that, you know, we've talked about this a couple times on the podcast, but Omar does not have any anxiety, right? He doesn't struggle with mental health, which is amazing.
Bless.
I've blessed.
You are blessed.
It's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
So every time we have these, you know, these topics come up and I say, well, yes, somebody with anxiety or social anxiety would definitely make them harder to, you know what I mean? And Omar's like, well, I can't relate. You know what I mean? So I think it's really special that we have you on here because of how familiar you are with mental health and your journey with mental health.
Yeah. I mean, mental health is definitely a big one.
Yep.
Actually, right now, I just started a new treatment. It's called TMS. It's transcranial magnetic stimulation, and it has better results than medication for people who struggle with depression. I'm on day 2 right now. I still have, I think, 34 more days to go. So I'm excited. I'm hopeful.
Amazing. That's amazing.
And I feel like mental health, like especially if and when like my career in modeling like launches, like mental health will be something that I would use my modeling platform for, because there is a lot of mental health issues for people in the modeling industry. Like body dysmorphia is a huge one. Anorexia. There's like a lot anxiety. Like all these girls have low self-esteem because of the fact that they don't think they're skinny enough. And like all the photoshopping and editing, like things are changing now. Like they're having like plus size models now. They're having people that have curves. So it is changing. But like I've seen like recently on social media a few weeks ago, there was a French model who was crying because they said she was fat. The girl was literally 115 pounds. And she's crying, and she had anorexia disorder, and she was crying and saying, I look perfectly fine. I'm finally happy with my body. And they're telling me I look fat when I'm already skinny. Mm-hmm. So, and I even struggled that. Like, I've always struggled being skinny. Mm-hmm. People would call me anorexic. It made me self-conscious. Now I've gained a little bit of weight, and like, I like the way I look. And some of the places that I've been to, they said that I have a good physique. I'm good for like athletic modeling or swimwear. They said I am a little too short, which I
truly don't think is a limit anymore in today's industry. In terms of being a model, I really don't think
I'll be honest, like thinking about like how like do they look at the standards of like how tall women are? Like this,
the average height is 5'5", which is what I am.
Right. Yeah, which is crazy to say. Like, oh, we need a 5'10". I'm like, who the hell?
Plus,
is gonna
you could wear
like
heels. Like, we're always wearing heels.
Imagine, I mean, it's a norm, but imagine, like a girl who's 5'10", 5'11", wearing 3-inch heels. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
And that, for a long time, I feel like was the norm. And that was all that was accepted in the industry. Thankfully, I'm really happy to see that people are finally, I mean, I think it's reluctant for a lot of people in the industry, but I'm happy because they are realizing now that they have to be more inclusive with the models that they pick for these gigs, because everybody's looking at like what you were talking about you doing this gig with a athletic wear company.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. And you saying that they've researched other athletic companies and people who do, active wear, have seen that they have been called out for having models on their page that don't actually work out and that aren't actually
I'm actually guilty. I don't work out really. I mean, I recently started doing little workouts and like yoga, but I'm not an athletic person.
Yeah, but you're just starting out, and you take the gigs that you're hungry. Right. You're hungry for any gig you can get. But I'm just talking about from the company's perspective on who they
where
choose.
Like they're very strict on like these circumstances where like the model has to have like an athletic page, and they have to be like very.
And in the past, it might have been just like regardless, it was just the same model standards across the board. It was like you have to be a stick regardless of what area you're shooting in,
And also tattoos. I wasn't sure if they wanted
That's
me
valid.
because
Actually,
of my tattoos.
Nowadays, like you'll find certain pages that, like for example, like one of the athletic wears that I was like researching while helping them out is dark sport. Dark sport is a very, I wouldn't say it's an edgy, like the best word for it is an edgy type of sportswear, where like literally like if you look at their models, they're not like the most fit, but at the same time they just body positivity with like tattoos and like they're their own people. Like the guy one of the models who I see is like literally a stick figure. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like it goes to show you, it's like you just need a person who can model it. In reality, those are the people who are going to actually wear the actual like fit. So it's in my eyes,
right,
it makes the most sense,
right,
to have the most average person, not like
right,
the most brolic person.
Totally. And it's so funny. I mean, this might be going off topic a little bit. We'll segue back into it in a second, but I just wanted to mention, ironically, I have actually shot for an activewear company. I shot with them in 2018, and they did ask me if it was okay that they Photoshop my tattoos out. And ultimately, they ended up not putting me on the website, probably because they were like, well, versus everybody else who came to model, you know, we don't have to go into Photoshop and do all this editing for them. This girl, you know, we have to edit out all these tattoos, so we might as well just like, you know, like not include her in the project just because of that like extra work factor. And even though that was only 4 years ago, I feel like nowadays, like I wouldn't be as likely to encounter a situation like that where I'm told that my tattoos are going to have to be Photoshopped out.
Right.
As, you know, even 4 years ago, even though it doesn't seem like that long ago, you know?
Right. Like when I was doing the portfolio shoot, I had to do swimwear outfit. So I brought my own bikini and everything, and they actually loved my tattoos. They said that, like, it like looked well, it flowed amazing. Well. So it was nice to hear, because like I mean, obviously I don't have control over what they do, but like I feel like, you know, it's my art, it's me, it's part of me. So
exactly. And I know every company's different and they have different requirements and all these things that go into it, but like I said, to a point, the industry's changing so rapidly that companies are realizing that they have to be more inclusive. Right. They have to be more open-minded. They have to include people who look like the average person. And today, the average person has a tattoo or two, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
It's so much more common and less taboo than it was in the past.
Yeah.
Right. And why I wanted to say, I'm really happy that you're actually like getting yourself out there now, and that like nothing's actually stopping you. And like I do want to see the growth, and like we're always here to see you grow, and I know they're always here to see you grow as well.
I think
as
that's
cringy
like,
as it sounds, but
no, it means a lot. I mean, growing with my modeling career, growing with my own goals, growing with everything that's went down this past summer, I feel like I'm definitely like,
you're on the right track.
Yeah, but I've definitely made a lot of progress, so I gotta give a little pat on the shoulder.
Absolutely.
So.
I completely agree. And I think the amount that we value our friends and our community of people in the creative world that we've had the pleasure of getting to know and becoming really close friends with, and like we said, we all met in a group, but over time we slowly have figured out who each of us are gravitated towards the most, and like
right.
who vibes with who. And I'm really grateful that we've been able to be on this journey in the same realm together for this many years. And that's the purpose of why we do this podcast. Like, I just want to give my friends a platform. I want to have these conversations that can go out, you know, to everybody else who might not be there yet and might not be where they want to be, but they're on the journey. And I think the journey is the most important part. And regardless of whether you have all that experience or not, this is the place that you come. And
I just want to iterate, because we talked about this off camera. That is the reason why this podcast exists.
Right.
Because we were talking about this, and she was like, "Oh, why are you guys doing the podcast?" I'm like, "Podcast for creators by creators."
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
It's as simply as put.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, with that being said, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
for
thank you for
Rosie.
having me.
We love you.
I love you guys too. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
No, I love you too. I love you too.
Omar's like 95% of the time.
95% of the 5% little. I don't know what to say. But yeah,
5%,
with that,
Rosie's looking at Omar like,
why? You know why?
Oh my God, he's gonna say something cheesy.
Yeah,
no, I'm not gonna say something cheesy. I'm not gonna say something cheesy, but
why?
This is where we like close it out. So, do you want to say any final things before I close
Well,
it out?
I really appreciate you guys having me here.
Of course.
Obviously, I still have a lot to learn with the industry, with modeling. Still still getting there, but definitely, like, since we brought the touchy subject of mental health, like, if you have a loved one or if you're yourself struggling with any trauma, any pain, mental health, anything in general, like, don't be afraid to reach out, because you're not alone.
Yep.
And I come from someone who's felt alone all her life, who's gone through so much shit, and who struggles with mental health. Excuse my language, Omar.
Oh, no worries.
Fine.
Okay. Don't feel afraid to ask for help. I mean, I have people here who love and support me. And
me.
Always.
you know, never be afraid. I mean, I see professionals. I'm doing different treatments. Nothing to be ashamed of. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And that's such an important message that I want to make prominent on here,
Yes.
since I'm usually the one on this channel between Omar and I, you know, talking about the mental health side of being in the industry in general and,
Right.
and having anxiety. And I really appreciate you being open to sharing that aspect of your journey. And
Of course.
and
That's what I'm here for. So.
Absolutely. And it really like opens perspective to me, who I don't suffer with it, but like I do know it's a real thing, and it's not like some like distant thing that like I never would have thought of, you know.
Yeah.
And like
There's
being
just
in
there's a lot of stigma.
exactly. And the thing is too is like being in this industry, I can see it with like other people, so I
Right.
know it's
Right.
it's real.
And
So-
I would love to have you back on in the future and just like see the, you know, the evolution that
Right.
we were
The
even
progress.
talking about. Like, I've seen the evolution through my own eyes being friends with you for years, but I would love for our audience and for this podcast to also see that evolution in the future.
Yeah.
So-
Hopefully the next time I'm here, I'm like, you know, with an agency or something.
Hell yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
With an
Putting it in-
agency,
putting
no,
it in
with
the universe.
2 or 4 agencies, you know.
Am I allowed to do that?
I have.
I
Are we
guess
allowed
we'll
to
see.
do that?
I don't know.
Write down in
I
the
actually
comments
don't
None of
know.
us know that,
I don't
actually,
know. I'm
so-
still learning. So
We'll figure it out. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. But with that being said, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to subscribe or like this video, please do. Hit the bell notification to know when we do post. And also follow us on our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Do it.
And with that being said, thank you again, Rose.
Thank
you.
you.
Really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
guys.
We love you, and we're so happy that you came on.
Thank you. I love you guys.
Love you too. Bye-bye for now.
See you guys next time. Toodaloo.
Toodles.